If you are wanting to transition off of birth control, keep watching because we're going to guide you through what you need to do to support your body. I'm so proud of you for wanting to transition off of birth control and to bring back those natural hormones and get that balance back. So there's a couple things in the body that you need to address and support before and during you getting off birth control. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And those things are going to be liver and gut health. These are two really important parts of the body that need to be addressed because they have gotten a little kick in the pants while being on birth control. So we'll start with liver health. Liver health is one of my favorite things to work on because your liver is such a powerhouse in the body and it's a big detoxifier and it's an organ that we truly cannot live without. It works so hard for us every single day. And so when we are exposing it to birth control, there are some repercussions that can come with that, which is why some people have post-birth control syndrome where they are feeling like they're not detoxifying correctly, they're just not feeling well, maybe symptoms are really crazy, you're getting a lot of acne, a variety of things that can be happening. And so when you're supporting the liver with, in our case, we're going to talk about like diet and supplements that could be helpful. This is helping your body just maximize your detoxification pathways that's inside the liver to make sure you are not having these issues after birth control. So when you're on birth control, it is an overall burden to the liver. Any pharmaceutical is, right? There is studies that there is an increased risk of liver tumors when someone's on birth control. And this can be important to know because I think a lot of the times with birth control, we don't talk, or not a lot of women are educated on the repercussions that can come from it. And so there is an increased risk of that. Being on birth control also makes bile very sluggish, which is something your liver produces and stores in the gallbladder. So it can make the whole bile production pretty sluggish, which affects your digestive system. And then in addition to, when your body is exposed to these synthetic hormones, your liver makes a lot of sex hormone binding globulin. And this is a protein that helps bind up sex hormones like testosterone and estrogen to make sure that there is enough free hormone in the blood, not too much, not too little. But when your body is trying to It's realizing that there's a lot of synthetic hormone, it's going to increase the sex hormone binding globulin. Sex hormone binding globulins can stay increased for a long period of time, even after you stop birth control. So we are such big supporters of supporting your liver health throughout your transitioning off birth control. So my favorite two supplements, and this is not a DIY, this is not everyone should take this. I still think you need to ask your practitioner. If you don't have a practitioner that even knows what milk thistle is, you definitely need to have one on your team. We would love to be that team for you because we are obsessed with food and herbs and we are very knowledgeable in those things. So I love glutathione 1. That's my number one recommendation because this is naturally made in the liver. It's a huge antioxidant and helps support detoxification. A lot of the times people are depleted or their body has an increased demand for it. People who have mold or gut issues and there's just a really high demand. There's usually a higher demand on these things too when you are taking pharmaceuticals on a regular basis for a long period of time. So I love supplementing with glutathione. Number 2 is milk thistle, and this is one of the ones that I don't think it's for everyone. I think it needs to be very bio-individual, so don't watch this video and go run out and grab some. But milk thistle is a powerhouse for antioxidant and liver protective effects. It also helps repair damaged liver cells. The studies on it are really, really incredible. So we love milk thistle. Going into diet, one of our favorite ways to support our liver is cruciferous vegetables. And these are things like kale and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower and broccoli. And we love this for sex hormones and liver because it helps your body choose a more protective pathway, which is called the 2OH pathway. There's different pathways that when you're detoxifying estrogen, it can choose. And the 2OH pathway is more protective. And so when you're eating these cruciferous vegetables, you're able to choose more of that pathway and not dangerous pathways like 4OH or 16OH that can damage DNA. So we absolutely love cruciferous vegetables. And then number 4 is going to be getting enough protein, really high quality protein. In a previous video that I did, we talked a lot about liver health and the detoxification phase 1, phase 2. And phase 2 is so dependent on amino acids and needs amino acids really high quality proteins to make sure it's running through. Because when a hormone or a toxin is coming through the liver, it's working through these phases, and these phases need to have the fuel that it needs to work. So it's going through phase 1, it's leaving phase 1 more dangerous, but then it goes into phase 2 to make it water soluble so we can excrete these hormones and toxins. And so without proper protein, or you're not eating enough protein, then your phase 2 is not going to have the fuel it needs to get rid and finish the detoxification pathway. Number 2 is going to be your gut health. This is where you need to support. And I know when women come to us, they're like, why are you talking about poop when I came to you for hormones? Well, because this is phase 3 detox, right? We push it through the liver and we take it out through urine and stool. And stool is very important just because birth control does create a very favorable environment for opportunistic bacteria. So women are studied to have more of an altered bacteria profile with certain bacteria that we call opportunistic, where they can take hold and overgrow and cause issues, and have lower levels of good bacteria, and then also maybe having potentially more yeast infections and overgrowth, because it's all a microbe community and everything has to be in checks and balances in there. So birth control does influence that. Birth control also does influence intestinal permeability. Those are the lining of your intestinal tract. And when it is quote unquote leaky, which is what you've heard, leaky gut, the more scientific term is intestinal permeability. It can allow certain antigens coming through the intestinal lumen into the body where it shouldn't be when you have leaky gut. So birth control does affect intestinal permeability, which is why after being on birth control for so long, we need to make sure that we're supporting our gut health and bringing it back into alignment where it should be. So one of my favorite supplements to help support the gut lining is L-glutamine. Lots of research behind L-glutamine. I love to use this in a powder because I do find that a lot of people who have intestinal permeability need higher doses, and that can be really, really hard to achieve in capsules. So love L-glutamine. I think it is one of the ones that almost everyone we've worked with, it's been okay to take. So it's just an amino acid. Still ask your practitioner, but definitely one that we recommend on a regular basis. Well-cooked foods is also ideal too, depending on the severity of your gut intestinal permeability and maybe other gut imbalances that you have. We find that well-cooked foods like bone broth and cooked proteins and cooked veggies instead of raw veggies digest a lot easier and helps people feel better, especially when you're in the role of trying to heal your gut. Number 3 is going to be your prebiotic foods. So these are things like asparagus and onions and garlic and legumes and different starchy vegetables. These foods feed your bacteria to make sure that they are thriving, your good bacteria, and they can help keep other things in check. A lot of these foods are also technically FODMAP foods. So you will see them being avoided in low FODMAP diets. Now the problem with that is that's why studies show low FODMAP diets are not ideal long term, because it does affect your bacteria profile in the long run. So we are huge fans of these foods. Obviously work with your practitioner. Maybe you can't jump into that right away depending on where you're at and the severity of your case, and maybe you need to ease into them. So work with your practitioner. If you need someone, we're here. Our link in the is in the description, bio, whatever you want to call it. It's down there to make sure that you can book a call with us and we can go over what we recommend you to do and give you that more personalized approach, which we absolutely love to do. And then number 3 is going to be repleting your nutrients. This is really important because birth control is notorious for giving you nutrient deficiencies. These are things along the lines of B vitamins, your B2, B6, B12, folate, things like zinc and selenium, which are really important for thyroid function, which is why there is are seen to be an increase in thyroid issues with birth control users. Magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin E, you name it. There's a handful of nutrients that are unfortunately depleted when you are on birth control. So getting a full-blown micronutrient panel that we do, no, it's not the ones that your doctors run. We absolutely love the one that we do because we can see what's floating around in your blood and what's going inside the cell. And that's where a lot of the action takes place. So we can see if you have enough to even shuttle inside the cell, or maybe you're having issues getting the nutrient inside the cell. So this is a really comprehensive panel. We check amino acids, we check your vitamins, your minerals. I absolutely love doing these with women to make sure that their body is prepared to get off birth control, replete your stores, and start really thriving with your hormonal health. So like I said, that is all we'll talk about today, but make sure you go in the description and fill out a free 15-minute call with me. I would love to hop on the phone with you, talk to you about your case, give you a game plan on maybe what we want to do. It's not an in-depth call, it's only 15 minutes, but it's enough time for me to get to know a little bit of you and guide you to the right package or a session with us so we can help you make that game plan. I'll see you soon.